Hi, can everyone hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, so this is my first time doing a YouTube live stream. So yeah, if there are any technical difficulties or you're just gonna have to roll with me. I'm sure you can see my video backdrop as usual. Okay, let me just roll through these. Greetings from Mexico, and someone is from Tampa. Hi, Mexico and Tampa. Okay. Online courses. I don't have any experience with the online courses. So and you guys know that I don't speak about things unless I feel really like knowledgeable about it. So, yeah. You're the only person I know who would describe me as a party person. I'm in pajamas with a popsicle because that is the best way to party, pajamas and a popsicle. Okay. The best karaoke bar is my bathroom while I put my eyebrows on. Okay. Hello, 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 hello. Hello from Malaysia, Memphis. Hi. Oh my God, am I on time? I guess you are. SFO, hey local, Roland Heights, Nova Scotia. What are my thoughts on Simone? I don't have a whole lot of strong opinions. Cape Verde, how do you pronounce that? What time is it over there? My goodness. Hello, Chicago and New York. I'm about to attend Cal Poly Pomona. Good luck. What's your advice for getting into fashion colleges like FIT and getting internships? Okay, those two things are like super different. So getting into colleges, it's really different. You know, I say this all the time, but when you have decided on which schools you're going to apply to, number one, always apply to more than one, just in case you get rejected by one and you don't want to wait a whole nother, school semester before you can apply again. So apply to several at a time. You want to read their website and their admissions policy and their standards extremely thoroughly and make sure that you are doing everything according to their rules and their standards. And so, people ask me about admissions policies, but since I don't work for these schools, I don't really have a say. I don't have any kind of say. So if you have a question about your admissions to FIT or to Parsons or whatever school, you need to contact the school directly because they're the ones that are going to be judging your portfolio. Okay? And a lot of people are like, Zoe, do I need fashion stuff in my portfolio? Or is it okay if I just have some drawing stuff? And it really depends on the school, because when I was applying and to the schools that I was applying to, no one wanted to see fashion stuff. They wanted to see basic non-fashion figure drawing. They wanted a self-portrait. They wanted my understanding of landscapes, perspective drawing. They didn't want any fashion stuff at all, but that was a specific circumstance. So yeah. New Hampshire, New York, how is life treating you? It's okay. It's okay. It's really warm where I am. And if you hear the AC kick up later, I have my system set up so that if it gets 79 degrees Fahrenheit, the AC goes on automatically, because 79 degrees is enough. Hot ass Arizona, first summer, naked beans and rice and ghetto. Okay, I don't know what that means. But yeah, Arizona, that sounds hot. Wichita, Kansas, California. Just put on mascara for this. Why do you put on mascara? Are you going to be on camera? I mean, I put on mascara, but because this camera is closer than my usual video camera. Fiji. Hi, Fiji. Wait, hold on. Okay, I get this question a lot. People ask me all the time, first of all, what is this blue that's hitting my glasses? That's the reflection of my camera lights. Can't be helped. And it changes every time I switch glasses. Like the amount of glare and the color of the glare kind of, they change every time I switch glasses, and I switch glasses pretty much every year. I don't get into conversations about my makeup because, first of all, I'm not a beauty vlogger, et cetera, et cetera. Secondly, I promise you that because of my studio lights, that colors of makeup on my face look completely different in real life. So if I tell you what color makeup I'm wearing and you try it on in real life and you're like, that doesn't look like what Zoe has on, it's because most people don't have crazy camera lights in their face. That's all. Okay. Am I okay? I'm trying to not miss stuff. England, greetings from the moon. Okay, cool. What time zone is that? Caribbean, hello. Should we still apply with no experience? Apply for what? I mean, if you're talking about schools, sure. You know, some schools don't have any portfolio requirements, as in you can apply to attend there without submitting a portfolio. So maybe you look for a school like that. I know the Academy of Art in San Francisco doesn't have, or it didn't have a portfolio program for a long time. I don't know what it's like right now. Zoe, have you ever designed for theater? No, but I had a year-long internship at the Opera House costume design department. And that was in the 90s, y'all. And it was fantastic. It was my favorite internship ever. If any of my former bosses are listening, don't listen. But no, I worked at the Opera House for a year, and it was really fantastic. And yeah, it's a very different thing from designing fashion design, and a lot of it is more personalized. The sketches are not elongated. A lot of it has to do with what is going to look good from the cheap seats, you know, the theater cheap seats. And so there's a lot of other design considerations and construction considerations, like how to get into costumes fast, things like that. So if you want to know more about costume design, I recommend you watch the interview I did with costume designer Shirley Idzakovich. It's in my interviews with industry professionals playlist. Okay, hello, Houston. How about merge fashion and nonprofits? Okay, can you be more specific? I love your work, thank you. Hello from Portland. Portland's awesome. I've been, what, 3 times? Twice? 3 times? Y'all have some good food. Just wanted to say you completely inspired me to get into fashion. I'm 13, have literally no interest in fashion until, I'm sorry, that's terrible. I'm leading you a terrible path. Fashion is a drug. Fashion is such a drug. No, I'm kidding. Good luck with that. I'm a music teacher. Hey, hey, fellow teachers. And what is your thought on Korean fashion compared to American fashion? Well, I would say that Korean fashion, American fashion, I mean, there's so many different kinds of American fashion. So obviously kind of exempt from this, you know, celebrities, they dress the wildest and they show the most skin, but just the general public, Korean women and men show less skin. They wear fitted clothes, but they don't wear like super tight clothes, again, generally speaking. So it'll be fitted, but kind of skimming the body as opposed to something that's super tight, you know, a lot of tight tube tops, bodycon. That's not the general style over there. And when they do show skin, you know, I think that every culture has an erogenous zone that is special to them, kind of like an ideal figure. And in Korea, it is more acceptable to show a lot of leg than it is to show a lot of cleavage. And so you will see Korean women in super short shorts, but like more covered up. That might be where I get it. Like, I'm not super comfortable showing off my cleavage a ton, but I wear shorts whenever it's hot. So, my name is Doreen from Fiji. Hello, Doreen from Fiji. From Kenya. My goodness. Zoe, the fashion drug dealer. That's right. Do you recommend a corporate job? Listen, the thing about corporate jobs, and this is something you have to ask yourself. The thing about corporate jobs is, the bigger the company you work at, the more narrow job tasks that you are asked to do. So when you work at a small company and there's like, I've worked at companies where there's 6 of us doing everything. And so I had my fingers in design, in development, and in production management. And I worked for companies where we were 20 people in the office and then another 20 people in the back, you know, cutting and sewing. And so even in that small of a company, I still had to do a lot of things. And when I was at that company with the 40 people, I worked with this woman who used to work at one of the Gap companies. And so she was so used to working on, like, she had her list of things that she needed to do. And that's it. And it was a narrow list, and she could just really focus on that. Whereas when you are working for a smaller company, you have to think fast. You have to change direction constantly. You have to multitask. And one is not better than the other, okay? It's about how you like to work, what kind of work setting you like. Like, Zoe, I only like to do 6 things. I'm super good at these 6 things. Then I'm guessing corporate is going to be more your style. But if you get bored easily and you want to run around and do all the things, corporate is probably going to bore you. I don't even know. Honestly, you guys are talking to me so fast. I'm just going to miss questions. I'm super sorry. That's just how that happens. Can you show us your curriculum syllabus for what? I don't know. Will this live stream be saved? I'm gonna try. Like, if I fail, it's because I didn't do it right. But the goal is to save it and let other people watch it afterwards. You mentioned in one of your videos a site for buying fabric from suppliers. The 2 companies that I have sponsored are Digifair and Swatch On. Hold on, let me write these down. Because I'm a teacher, I have a whiteboard. Dun, dun. Oh my goodness. This is not working. One sec, guys. Ooh. I'm trying to write as neatly as possible. And first, because it's a mirror. Okay, that didn't work because I didn't realize it was going to be reversed. So let me just write them in the chat. So the first one is swatchon.com and digifair.com. So go check those out. How far out should one start planning a budget for your collection? Oh my goodness, that's like 17 videos. I'm an ESL teacher, but I love drawing. Please save this live stream. I'm gonna try. I gotta figure it out. Love from Brazil. Hello, Brazil. Great insight. Yes, yes, yes. I own a fabric shop. What is? Dun, 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 dun. What are your thoughts on starting a business while still in school for design? I think that that is a not great idea because most design schools are extremely labor and time intensive, and so is starting a business. And I think that each of those things deserves your undivided attention for success. Fashion today is so much Norman Bates mom sitting in a rocking chair. I don't really know what that means. Is it wrong to create pieces without a true industry level production plan if I plan to sell them? Yes. You have to think about, if your goal is mass production, then you have to figure out how you're going to produce them en masse. Because otherwise, it's a recipe for losing all your money. Okay, I have to scroll through. Oh my God, I'm late. You're so late. How do you make fur look real in an illustration? I'm an AAU student, so hi, Academy. So for those of you who don't know, the school that I used to teach at is the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. And yes, I am in the San Francisco Bay Area. People contact me and they're like, I live in New York and I would love to grab you for coffee. Zoe, I'm going to be visiting LA. Can we get coffee? It's like, I don't live anywhere near those places. Okay. How much money do you need to start making clothing at home? That really depends on the kind of clothing you make. If you want to start making some t-shirt dresses at home, that doesn't cost any money at all. If you want to start, doing luxury level ready to wear, then it's going to require a lot of money because of the initial marketing and materials costs at the very minimum. Okay. Resort is, for a long time, resort was the season that people made more money. It actually sold better than other seasons. And I don't really know if that's true anymore, but mostly I just think nobody buys clothes anymore. So how many outfits should there? Oh my God, I hate this question so hard. No, how many outfits should be in a collection is completely dependent on your company. If you look at, just go to like Vogue.com or someplace and look at all the designers, okay? Some designers are showing 25 outfits in one collection, and some companies are showing 89 looks in a collection. Like, it really depends on your company, your infrastructure, your customer, like how you've divvied up your seasons. Like, some people, they'll show one collection with all their looks, and then they'll have different delivery dates. Like, out of the 80 looks, 20 will be shipped in January and 20 will be shipped in February, etc. So it looks fresh and interesting and new. So that is something you have to think about for yourself. I had a whole discussion planned out, but there are so many questions going on. I don't even know. Fashion critics, how to understand which fashion is good and bad. Fashion critics, let's see. I mean, my favorite has long been Susie Menkes from the International Herald Tribune. She is widely respected across the fashion industry. I met her once and it was super exciting. When you live in LA and you work in Hollywood and you work in fashion, you meet a lot of celebrities, and I never got super excited about meeting celebrities. And one time I had dinner like diagonal from Jack Nicholson. But when I met Susie Menkes, I was like, shut up. And I got to talk to her for a minute, and it was super exciting. So Susie Menkes is one. Kathy Horan, I don't always agree with her, but Kathy Horan is someone who is very truthful about her opinions. She has been banned from multiple fashion houses because she has decided she's just going to tell the truth. And if designers don't like it, she can be banned from their shows. She doesn't care. So those two are good to read. Oh, logo sportswear. You mean, okay. What are some of these? Do you believe that people can start fashion designing at a late age, like 15 or 13? 15 is not a late age. I have people emailing me asking me if it's too late to change their careers at 53. So if you're a teenager, it is not too late for anything except maybe being an Olympic gymnast. I did 2 years of my fashion degree, had to stop. I want to get into the production side of fashion. How can I learn the remaining advanced pattern making techniques? You know, there are schools that teach pattern making that aren't part of like a giant fashion program, or you can take like evening classes or sometimes it's called continuing education classes at the fashion school. So it's not part of their main BFA program, but it's taught by the same teachers as the rest of the classes. So that might be a good option for you. Do you use a sewing machine or do you sewing by hand? It totally depends on what I'm doing. Clothing line cost. Hey Zoe, I want to start my own brand. I don't know how to go about production. Should I look for a company? Do I make the pieces for myself? Especially since I'm still in college and want to start small. Well, you know how I feel about starting during college. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Why can't LA be a fashion capital? Well, it depends on your definition of capital, but you know, LA has a particular reputation of being known for specific things. For a long time, they have been associated with Hollywood, and they have been associated with swimwear and activewear. And then the kind of designer denim market exploded in the 90s with brands like Seven for All Mankind. And so as these brands get more and more important in the market, LA is starting to be seen as more important. And here's the thing, is LA is growing. And one of the reasons why LA is growing is because they have land. They have space for all these factories. The reason denim, the premium denim market exploded so hugely in LA is because denim requires space. Like you have to have factories with space, and the East Coast doesn't have space. And so in California, you know, I used to drive out to Rancho Cucamonga and check out on factories and stuff. So Southern California has the space. They have a lot of designers. They have a central garment district. And so it's growing. And there's always been this, you know, historically, all throughout the 20th century, and they've always had a very competitive sort of relationship as to who is more influential in fashion. And let me know if you guys want a Hollywood costume history video series that's like really different from regular fashion history. But because they've always had that that competitive relationship, you know, fashion doesn't want to give LA too much credit. You know, they don't want Hollywood taking over all of fashion. But I mean, as it is, we are very celebrity-centric culture now. And I do mean that internationally. And, you know, even if it's not the same celebrities, like I look at K-pop, and I know I'm an old woman, but I still listen to K-pop because I've been listening to K-pop since the 80s, okay? That's just my culture, my life. I still eat Korean food and speak Korean and have Korean friends and watch Korean dramas and listen to Korean music. And so when you think about how K-pop has exploded, not just in Korea, but all over Asia, and I know BTS is like, more and more popular in Western culture, but like, even if the actual celebrity faces are different, internationally, we are more of like a celebrity obsessed culture, which brings me to Barney's. Okay. I wanted to talk about Barney's because if you had been following me on social media, then you know that Barney's is failing. They're going, there's so many rumors about bankruptcy for Barney's, the department store. And last Friday, the news was that Barney's didn't make payroll, meaning they didn't send paychecks to anybody, meaning they don't have money to send paychecks to people. And I have been saying for a long time that the old retail models are dying, are dead, and that's why so many department stores and fashion businesses that are 100 years old, and Barney's I think is about 100 years old, are dying because they hold on to these old retail models without thinking fast enough about the future. They are like the Blockbuster of video rental. How many are old enough to remember Blockbuster Video? Blockbuster Video, they went bankrupt because Netflix came along. And when in the beginning, Netflix was a DVD rental service through the mail. And the whole streaming thing hadn't come along until a little bit later. And, Blockbuster, they saw Netflix and they saw what Netflix was doing with the mail thing, with the streaming thing, and they didn't catch up. They didn't put in that effort to be an actual competitor and see how people were absorbing entertainment. And that's why they went out of business. And old-fashioned giants like Barney's are the same. And so I would like you guys are always talking about, how to start a business and how much money to go into it and how to get inspired for design. But really, you need to think about how you're going to structure your company, because these old design models, these old retail models don't work anymore. And you may be asking, Zoe, what is the old retail model? What are you talking about? So Barney's and many other department stores, the way they work is they shop their buyers. They have buyers and creative directors and merchandisers who go look at the collections, and they get lookbooks, and they go to runway shows, and they talk to the sales team at different design companies, and they order bulk quantities, wholesale, and then the fashion companies, they make to the order, and they ship it to Barney's, and Barney's puts it out on the floor, puts it out online, and sells it. And why did people do this? For one, not all designers can afford to start their own companies and also have a store, whether it's a brick and mortar store or an online store. For a long time, it was all brick and mortar. Online is very new. And so because they didn't have the money, the funding to have their own store, they sold them to other stores, boutiques, and department stores like Barney's. Barney's monster, just like a big fashion giant. And so, them showcasing your stuff was a feather in your cap, and it was a lot of publicity for you. And they had a really big audience. And so those are the good things about selling wholesale in the old school retail model. But it's not working anymore. You think about how many companies are going out of business or filing for this kind of bankruptcy and that kind of bankruptcy, and it's clearly not working anymore. And a lot of that has to do with the sheer amount of inventory that sits there, because it's so hard to predict what's going to sell. Okay? And so you need to think about, how am I going to figure out a way to move clothing, sell clothing, minimize my inventory risk? Because do you know what inventory is? Let me explain to you what inventory is. It's money, okay? Any coat that you have sitting in storage waiting to be sold is a bag of money that's just sitting there. It's not even collecting interest. It's losing value every second it's not being sold, okay? It is a bag of money. That's what inventory is. So how do you reduce, tons of dead inventory sitting in a warehouse? You got to move the product. And so it's that whole balance of predicting how much to buy, to sell, to make. And this is why I'm constantly talking about starting small, not producing huge amounts, that kind of thing. And that it's totally good to tell people that you've sold out on a certain thing so you can make more instead of having dead inventory. Whoa, that's like a million things. Da, 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 da. Do you listen to any fashion podcasts? I listen to a lot of fashion podcasts. I have my phone. Let me just scroll through my podcast list so I don't forget any. There's the American Fashion Podcast. That one is a good one. And Dressed, the history of fashion. That one is a good one. I think that one of my favorite episodes was the one on how historically people addressed sweat. I love that kind of practical stuff because that's a real concern that's been with us forever. Humans always sweat. And so in this day and age, we sweat through our shirts and then we put them in the laundry. But think about back then when they didn't have laundry machines, everything had to be hand washed. And so you want to minimize how much hand washing you want to do. And people didn't have as many clothes so that, you can like wear 10 shirts in a row and just throw them in the laundry and then eventually get around to it. Those were not things they could do back then, so that was a really great episode. And Fashion is Your Business. It's a retail technology podcast. And that's the kind of thing I think that y'all should be more aware of, kind of like that whole Barney's lecture I just gave. And then How I Built This is an NPR podcast. And How I Built This with Guy Raz, he talks to CEOs and founders of big companies. And many of them are in the fashion, business, and kind of related fields. So not every episode is going to be about fashion, but many of them are. They had Eileen Fisher. They had the Spanx lady. They had, what's that company where you can, Rent the Runway. So he has various fashion people come on. And so it's really interesting to hear these successful founders talk about how they built their companies, their struggles in the beginning. Love it. Jane Hamill has a podcast, and I was featured in a double episode interview. And let's see, what else do I have in here? Suchi has a podcast. That's Suuchi. And Suchi is it's a vertically integrated garment production facility. And what does that mean? A vertically integrated garment production facility means they do everything, or a lot of services. Because it used to be, you got your clothes cut at the cutters, and then you took these cut bundles to the sewers, and then the sewers sewed them up and sent them back to you. And now companies are offering more and more services within their own factory, so you can save on time and money and mistakes made transporting cut bundles to sewing and things like that. And so Suchi, let me write that out for you. Suchi. They're based in New Jersey. And I went to visit their factory. I was in New York in March, and I went to go visit their factory. It's very cool. And they do the whole shebang, all the way from helping you with design services and material sourcing, pattern making, grading, cutting, sewing, all of that. But they have a podcast. I found out about them because they interviewed me for it. So they do interview fashion industry professionals on their podcast. And then there's the Glossy podcasts. Their description is a weekly show discussing the impact of technology on the fashion and luxury industries with the people making change happen. And that's a good one to listen to. I think that's it. Yeah. Those are the ones I listen to. Zoe, what? I don't know anything about sewing machines that are not industrial sewing machines, so I cannot answer that question. Do you know if you can get 2 fashion degrees at once at a university? I wouldn't recommend it. No. Oh, yes, on the Hollywood costume. Okay, I'm going to throw up a poll in my community tab. What do you think is a good way to keep a fashion brand going and having many seasons ahead of them instead of being shut down? Cash flow. I know that's not the answer you wanted. You wanted to be like, your designs have to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. No. Okay. What it boils down to, and the success of a company boils down to cash flow. And what does that mean? Cash flow means that there is a steady flow of cash coming in as cash is leaving the company, so that you are consistently making sales and getting paid as you're paying your bills, and so that you have a bank account that has money in it. Okay, it's not good when you get yourself into a massive debt because you ordered all these materials and you paid for all this production and you are in a giant hole and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to fill this giant money hole when I get paid for all these orders. No, that might happen in the beginning, but you need to you need to be consistently making sales and getting paid for these sales. Okay, those are 2 different things, while you're paying your bills. And that's how you stay in business. The reason why designers have so many collections is so that the more you deliver shipments, the more you deliver, the more you are getting payments. And a lot of these boutiques, especially if you're going wholesale, a lot of these boutiques and department stores, they ask for things like net 30 terms. What does that mean? Net 30, NET. You've heard terms like net 10, net 30. That means that the terms are they can pay you 30 days after they receive the shipment. And in finances, 30 days is a really long time. And so you have to accept terms a lot of the time. So you need to be constantly shipping so that you can constantly be getting money. And that means some companies will have a new collection every 2 months. I know some companies, they actually only design one collection once a year, but they have different delivery dates for everything. So like I mentioned before, these and these only available in April or something like that. So you're constantly shipping and receiving money all throughout the year instead of sitting on a big old debt hole. BTS Army. I have their first album. But yeah, I've been listening to K-pop since the 80s, like Kim Gunmo and like all those old ballad guys. And then when DJ DOC first came on, Young Tux Club, H.O.T., Jake's Kiss, like all of them from the 90s. And then there was a whole time in college. I didn't have time for K-pop. When I was in fashion school, I don't even remember what movies came out during that time period. I don't know what music was being produced, whether it's American or Korean during that time period, because all of that was like a blank. I was just so in, like just all in with school. Just It was insane. Okay. Blockbuster was always a fun time. I have a funny story about Blockbuster. It's kind of funny. At the time I was mortified, but anyway, so this was back in 2006. This is before I was even married. So 2006, Blockbuster was still in business, and I went to this wedding. And here in the Bay Area, we have this dress code called San Fran Freak Show Formal, which means it's like black tie optional, and if you want to get a little costumey with it, that's cool. So I wore one of my vintage kimono and like giant platform wedge like block heel things, and I had my hair all done, everything, and so my then fiance, now husband, we went to this wedding. We had a great time, and then we left a little bit early, and my fiance was like, hey, you want to stop by Blockbuster on the way home and pick up a movie so we can crash out? And I was like, great. So we went, and I'm running around Blockbuster, and people are giving me all these funny looks. And I'm like, have they never seen anyone dressed up before? Like, I know I'm way too dressed up for a Blockbuster, but come on. So I grab movies. My fiance and I, we check out, and we're like, go out to the car. And so if you remember the stores, they're all glass front, right? I catch my reflection in the glass. So at the wedding, they had one of these like fun photo booth things with all these props. And one of the props I had chosen was a stick-on mustache. So I had this bushy black little mustache on, and it was still on my face as I was shopping at Blockbuster in like full black tie formal mustache. And my fiance had been staring at me for hours with this mustache. He knew, and so it didn't occur to him that was weird to be in public like that. Whatever. Anyway. Blockbuster. Yeah, I mean, Netflix is great, but Blockbuster back then, they had so much money, they had so much power, they had so much market share that they really could have competed with Netflix if they got their butts in gear. Okay? Blockbuster memories from all the way in Australia. What about Saks Fifth Avenue? Well, I mean, they're still hanging on. They had that password email leak breach last year, which is super fun. Can I make a name for myself in the fashion industry if I'm 16? Your chances are very, very small. You need to learn things and develop your skills and make mistakes and develop your craft. First saw Casablanca on a reel and projector. Nice. Oh, what is it? This thing just made a big old jump. Sorry. I wish it was more normal to be dressed up or dressed well. Listen. That is one of the reasons why fashion clothing is not selling, because people more and more refuse to be not comfortable. People wax poetic about the days when both men and women dressed up more for every occasion, whether it's just going to the grocery store, going to work. And, you think it's like a political office or a financial firm or a law office, and people dress more and more casually. It's because we as a society have decided that we don't like wearing clothes that don't feel like our pajamas. And we are a culture that's like, the second you get home, you take your bra off and you take your pants off. And listen, one of the best things about my job is I work at home and I don't have to wear fancy clothes. But that's the thing, is like, when people are no longer buying clothes that don't feel like pajamas, it really restricts design. And so when people aren't buying the design because it doesn't feel like pajamas, but the reason why accessories and beauty markets are doing so great is because they don't feel like wearing a girdle, and they don't have to think about their bodies and their insecurities when they are buying a purse or when they're buying a lipstick. That's why those markets are thriving and clothing is not selling. I miss the 80s. I don't miss the 80s. I was just a kid in the 80s. Like, being a kid in the 80s meant all your outfits were these massive t-shirts and leggings. Like, I think I just basically lived in those. Favorite fabric. I don't have a favorite fabric. It always depends on what I'm doing. Yeah, I like fancy clothes, but it needs too much work to get ready. It needs to be honest, and not comfortable. See? And jelly shoes. Yes, I totally had jelly shoes with glitter. Granimals clothing. I don't remember that. Okay, let me scroll up to catch some more questions. To anyone, yes. What is the most secure design-oriented job in the industry? Probably tech design. Listen, the most secure jobs are the ones that less people want to do. Okay. And that's the sad fact. Not everyone wants to do tech design. Some people love it. I love me a good old Excel spreadsheet. But yeah, the more desirable jobs pay crap because they are offering things and they don't have to compensate with money. Okay? Accountants get paid a lot because who wants to be an accountant for the fun of it? Very few people. Those people exist. I know this because my sister, when she first started college, she wanted to be an accountant. She loves data entry like I love cheese, okay? And actually, she went to Minnesota, so obviously she also loves cheese. But yeah, and she got a fat college scholarship to study accounting, but she is definitely in the minority. So things like tech design and more product development, production-oriented things that more people don't want to do are the ones that have more job security and tend to pay more. Pattern makers make the most money because it's a difficult thing. You know, pattern makers are basically clothing engineers. Okay? So it's a little bit more difficult in the realm of all the kind of design-oriented subjects. It's the most difficult, especially if you are constructing very tailored garments or very intricate, unconventional garments. And so they end up making the most money. Please, Zoe, make more videos on how to shop for quality clothes or accessories. Yeah, that is actually in the plan. I'm really happy that so many of you were interested in that because you all know that sustainability is a near and dear subject to me. And I believe that part of the sustainability solution is to produce and purchase quality garments and hold onto them for a long time and wear them and take care of them and have fewer quality garments in your wardrobe than just like 20,000 fast fashion dresses. Okay? And so I do have plans. Someone, and I forget their name, but someone had suggested I do a video on taking one category of garment, like a button down or jeans or something, in a bracket, very expensive, me and cheapo, and then compare the three. Is that something you guys would be interested in? I thought that was a good idea, and I was kind of putting that in my video calendar for the future. So let me know in the comments. You're right, cash flow is everything. Thank you. Cash flow is everything. Yes, for Hollywood fashion. Awesome. Whoa, who just gave me $10? Dang. Thank you. Thank you, Kennedy Heatherton. Did you have a question you wanted me to, do you want to answer? How do I pull out quality research when I don't have access to library quality phone books? I don't have a library or phone books. Do people still use phone books? the internet is your friend. I have books, and I do have the advantage of having collected fashion books forever, like starting from, well, I wanted to be in fashion forever. So I've held on to books that I had since high school, and then all the books that I was required to buy for my college courses. And I've just been steadily collecting more and more books. But, internet resources are your friend. Staying on top of news is your friend. Do you use WGSN for research? No, I do not. Why are these banners appearing displays for $1, $10? Those are people giving me money because they're super nice. Wait, Kennedy, did you have a question? Message retracted. Okay. Hi, Zoe. Do you have or have you ever had your own brand? Do you consult for brands? I have had my own brand. I no longer have my own brand because I had my brand for a few years, and then I got invited to teach at the academy, and I started teaching there. And then I realized I just super love teaching, and I did not enjoy running my own business by myself. It was very difficult for me. And so I transitioned into teaching. And then while I was teaching at the academy, I started my YouTube channel, and here we are. But I do consult for different companies now. Dun, dun, dun. What is your opinion on people who consider themselves fashion designers but don't have a BA or AAS in an apparel major? Degrees don't make or break anything. Unless you are working in a field that requires that a certain level, like doctors and lawyers, they pass multiple exams and get degrees and have to be state certified in order to practice. But in arts, a degree doesn't really mean anything. Degrees are important in order to get jobs, because the HR machines at the big fashion companies, when they are scanning resumes, they're not doing it by hand. They are scanning for keywords. So you don't have those keywords like a bachelor's in this or a university background in that or whatever, then you're not going to get a call for an interview. Okay, that's what that's for. But it doesn't not necessarily make you a designer. Oh, hi, Brian. I love all y'all too. Something that I don't get it really. I don't know what that means. How can I get a job as a pattern maker from home as a freelancer? You have to network, and you have to go online, and you have to advertise yourself as a pattern maker. People are looking for pattern makers all the time. How do I know? People email me constantly. Zoe, do you make patterns? Do you know someone who can make a pattern? And so I know that people exist. You need to put your work out there. You cannot sit in a corner of your studio and not self-promote and expect people to find you magically. So you need to put together a website. You need to watch my 5 tips on freelancing and fashion, and take the social media advice that I put in that video. So let Google SEO help you. Put some, promoted, sponsored ads in Instagram and Facebook, and show off your skills. Make those patterns. If you're not good at sewing, then have a friend sew up the stuff that you made patterns for, and post that stuff out there in the world, and really you have to go for it. When I was first starting this channel, I had no online presence, and I didn't have like super strong social media, And when I had my own line, social media wasn't this huge thing that you really need, like people talked about constantly to push their brands like we do now. And so my social media presence was non-existent. And so I had to build all that from scratch for my YouTube channel. And so it just takes constant, steady work. It's work. You know, I put out a video minimum once a week. There have been times in my YouTube history where I did 2 or 3 videos a week. And the only times I missed were I had an eye infection and I couldn't look at a computer screen at all. I had to fly out because my mother-in-law had died, you know, things like that. You have to put in the work. You have to steadily put out social media posts and show off your work. Use the hashtags, like Instagram hashtags definitely work to increase your audience. And yeah, and you have to be consistent. Can you make more video design fashion with Photoshop or Illustrator? I don't know, because y'all don't watch it. Like, they're like my lowest performing videos. If I had the opportunity to study fashion design abroad in either Paris or Milan while I'm at school, where would you go and why? It's not a matter of what city it is for me, but what those individual programs offer. Like, if this, you know, Italy is really well known for their leather goods, excuse me. And so if that particular Milan program had a way where I could study leather, I would do that because I would love to learn more about that. So yeah, it really depends on what specifically you're studying at each of the programs and whether that's what's going to be useful for you in the kind of designing that you like to do. I have never studied trend forecasting ever, sorry. Ooh. Is pattern making very difficult? I talked to someone who went to school for fashion and now there has their own program teaching the most essential parts. They said pattern making takes 4 years to learn. Pattern making is just like any other subject. Some people, they love the geometry of it. They love the puzzle solving aspect of pattern making. And so they go for it and they really latch onto it and they love it. Some people hate it. And, you know, typically when you hate it, it's harder for you to learn it. Also, pattern making is like making a t-shirt is easy, you know, making like, you know, a really complicated tailored blazer that's asymmetrical and has a crazy like stand-up collar. Like, it depends on what you're making. Can you do a video on PLM software? No, because that is not an area of expertise that I have. Doo-doo. Sorry, at this point, I am getting so many questions and we're approaching the hour mark. I would love to wrap it up, and I am looking for questions that I think are more beneficial to more people than just one person. Tips for, hi Stephanie, thanks for the $2. Tips for working with synthetic athletic fabrics. Do you mean sewing or design? Why is my live not connecting? Hello, okay. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of synthetic fabrics because largely there are things like polyester that are made from petroleum products that are plastic and non-biodegradable. So my thing is, you know, sustainability, it used to be a marketing catchphrase, but now it's something people pursue more and more. and it can really help you in your brand marketing. And so if you can find a reliable source for recycled polyesters or similar fabrics, then I would get into that and use that and market that. And you can find things on the two companies I mentioned before, digifair.com, swatchon.com, and you can post on Digifair that you're looking for recycled polyester, recycled nylon, and you can, use the filters, the keyword filters to look things up on SwatchOn and look up these recycled materials, because that's the future. You have to think forward. Don't think about what used to work. Think about the moves that companies are making, that are making waves, making news into the future. And two amazing things. So Prada, so if you know a little bit about Prada history, Prada is a luggage company that's been around for 800 million years, okay? So that means they're 2 years older than I am. And they exploded on the scene when Miuccia Prada put out the little nylon backpack as kind of like a fashion item in the 90s, and it became this huge deal. And now Prada is doing this thing where they are relaunching the nylon pieces that were so popular in the 90s, but they're making them with sustainable, recycled, synthetic fabrics instead of the original nylon, which is amazing. And, Adidas, they've already long ago started making their shoes out of recycled ocean plastic waste. So these things are the future. And so that would be my tip for working with synthetics and being like, yes, this is the way to go. Thank you for the $5, Miss Mina. Your thoughts on elitism in the fashion industry and why poor quality is more acceptable in brand names versus independent, smaller brands. Reputation. It can be considered elitism for sure, but a lot of it is reputation. And because here's the thing. The reason why my How to Shop for Quality Clothes video was so popular is because people do not recognize high quality very easily. And so people associate price with quality. Okay, it's kind of their go-to fallback default setting. And so you have companies where they are charging a lot of money, and a lot of the money is, part of it is marketing, part of it is they can. If something is Gucci, people will pay for it more than they will pay for the same amount of money for an unknown brand. So yeah, like people, our whole society, our culture, we are obsessed with brands. That whole logo craze with the LVs and the MKs and all that still exists. And so people are willing to spend $1,000 on, on big brand names, but not $1,000 for no brand names unless it's a super custom made for them thing. And so that's what it is. It's a combination of being obsessed with labels, and some of that has to do with what their favorite celebrity is wearing or carrying. And a lot of it has to do with people not understanding quality. So, yeah. Thanks for the $5, EMP Phillips. Does EMP stand for like a title? Okay. Okay, Kennedy gave me 10. Oh, there you go. Kennedy, any advice on direction of plus sizes? Hate to even call it that. It is clothing for 70% of the women that are size 14 and up. What are your thoughts on the 14 to 22 women's market with boutiques? Yeah, so if you watched my video on plus size, you will know that I also hate the term plus size. And to put it simply, the reason why I hate the term plus size is it's not a descriptor, it's a comparer. It's a comparison thing. Okay? And so when you call someone round or curvy, you're describing their body. And when you say someone is plus size or overweight, you're comparing them to someone else. And I'm not into that so much. I am more interested in trying to make something for a particular body type, whether it's a top heavy, body type, or a very short petite body type, whichever, right? And let's see. What are your thoughts on that market? It is growing. More and more brands are concentrating on either that market or providing more inclusive sizing, like all the way from 0 all the way up to 26, or some companies are going into the 30s, like Universal Standard and Prem, and there's a lot of companies out there. I keep tabs on that stuff because I'm like kind of lopsided, and sometimes I shop plus, larger size. Sometimes I shop standard size. Like, I don't even know what to call them anymore. It just makes me crazy, but whatever. My sizing is like all over the place just because sizing is so unregulated in the fashion industry. But I think that it is a growing market. I think that more and more companies are acknowledging that, round, curvy women are fashion conscious, want to wear beautiful things, and they are learning more about pattern making for the larger sizes. And yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there. It's still not where it needs to be, but there's potential. And for those of you who want to enter a market that is ripe for the picking, it is this. It is size inclusive, women's clothing, men's clothing. This is a market where it is not oversaturated with competition. The reality is, these women, they have as much money to spend as any other woman, and they have all these limited options. And so get out there and offer some cute stuff and offer it in a bunch of sizes. And they're waiting. Women are waiting, especially in lingerie. I think lingerie for bigger bra cup sizes, bigger bra band sizes, around the rib cage. And, so much of larger lingerie has been just like really boring, super supportive, beige, but if you can get in there and design something cute, but also can fit a really big butt, people will eat that up. They will. I hope that answered your question, Kennedy. Can you suggest any good online or campus short-term design courses for fashion designers? Short-term design courses, do you mean like an AA? That's a 2-year program in the US. That's what they're called. An AA, an Associates of Arts. I don't know of any, I don't know what you mean by anything shorter term than that. I know that the Academy of Art has a very extensive online program. I know this because I wrote a course for them. I wrote their advanced fashion illustration course, the online version. And so they have a ton of classes, and they do have degrees, like degrees for your program. So that can be a place where you can start your research. What is up with my connection? Okay, so I'm at 1 hour and 10 minutes. I'm just gonna go for 5 more minutes, y'all, okay? So have you heard of Affinity? Yes, so Affinity has programs that are similar to Photoshop and Illustrator. And I do not know how to use those programs. I never learned them because I know that I have a lot of non-fashion people watching my channel, but my focus has always been fashion. And that's where my expertise is from. And the fashion industry, as of now, uses Adobe software for everything. And so I do not feel good about teaching other software to my students that the industry is not going to use. And so people ask me all the time, like, well, this is cheaper and this is cheaper. How about this and how about that? But I'm not going to teach something where I'm not sure it's going to be used in the industry. And that's why I teach Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator on my channel and stuff like that. Okay, it's 4 a.m. here. Oh, good morning. By short term, you mean 1 year or less? Yeah, I don't know if those exist. I think that the shortest comprehensive program for fashion design is 2 years. And then, you can do like these fun workshop, like week-long workshop type deals. But in terms of a program that gives you a certificate, I don't know of any that is shorter than 2 years. And to be honest, if you're going to spend the time and the money for school, you want something that companies are going to recognize as a viable, education standard. And so you need to at least start with a 2-year program to have that. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. It's glitching on my end too, but you guys kind of got everything I was saying, right? So the industry commercializing Pride Month. Oh my God. Listen, I used to work Pride Parade as a block captain. I have a friend who manages the San Francisco Pride Parade every year, and he still asks me every year. I haven't been able to do it the last 2 years, but he asks me every year to be a block captain, which means I just yell at people for like 8 hours on Pride Parade Day, organizing parade floats. And yeah, it's like I used to organize the Twitter guys and the Facebook guys and the LinkedIn guys. They all had these floats and everything. And it's like, it's a weird thing because I want all the corporations to participate in Pride because I want them to acknowledge that gay people, LGBT, everything, all the letters, that these people exist in their companies and they need to support them, and they need to be very obvious and visible about their support to have these employees work and contribute at their companies. And how, and I feel like making them, even in a guilty conscious sort of way, participate in these activities like Pride Parade, they are, there's like a little angel on their shoulder that tells them, yes, gay partners also deserve health benefits just like wives and husbands, and things like that. So I want it to be part of the culture where every company is aware of sexual and gender minorities and pay attention to them. But I know that's not true for every company that participates. So I think that our responsibility as everyday consumers is to be thankful that all these big corporations are lending their money, and because it takes money to run these parades, and so we should be thankful that these corporations are lending their money and their name to create these giant parades. But actually, when it comes to spending our money, we need to be supporting LGBT founded, run, etc. companies. Okay, and these companies exist, and I love how, like, on Twitter, every year, every June, May and June, people start writing these articles listing the owned businesses that we can support online. So go ahead and pay attention to those as they come up. Okay. All right. So please don't ever leave YouTube. Thanks. It's good. I like it. I like teaching. So I doubt it'll EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse. It's my very nerdy initials. Just a physicist who loves learning about fashion. Thank you for your succinct and educational content. Okay, cool. Thanks. So if you had questions, I did notice that, you know, people are answering each other's questions in the chat. So go ahead and read through and see if anybody else, because somebody was answering questions about short courses that they heard of. Shirley, I want half a day live stream or maybe a class online for you on sketching. How can we make that happen? Just take my money now, please. Shirley, shut up. I know. It's so hot and my AC is just like cranking like crazy. But I will be doing the live stream every Tuesday throughout the month of August because I want to see how well they do. And if people are still really dying to continue the live streams, I will be doing them. But it is a test that I'm doing throughout the month of August. Live stream every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific. So if I didn't get to your question, hit me up next week. And as people were saying, you know, there's a lot to be learned by listening to the answers of other questions that people are asking. So, all right. As always, hashtag always be practicing, hashtag practice not magic, hashtag if your first one sucks, you're right on track, hashtag do it anyway, hashtag perfectionism is stupid, all right? And yes, there will be a Sunday video as usual. So I will see you then. Bye. What is this arrow? I don't know what that means. End stream. End.